into a lineup today. I'm stacking Atlanta and the Dodgers. I'm just going to do it.
I had built out all of my lineups thinking we weren't going to get the late lineups until after lock, and now they're out. I'm just going to have to redo everything. What is happening, everybody? It is Thursday night. We've got a eventful, not really, 3-game MLB slate, but it is okay because I'm here joined my friend Eric Lindquist. We're going to break down the entire slate for you guys. So do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel and our podcast channel, Stochastic Daily Fantasy. You guys are going to want to subscribe to that because we've got some really cool stuff coming on the podcast channel with football season starting next week. There's going to be podcast exclusive content. We're going to be doing giveaways tied to podcasts. So guys, go subscribe to the podcast channel because we got some stuff in the works I think you are going to want to pay attention to. So go check that out. Eric, how are you feeling about today's slate in general? We got 3 games, just generally not the most exciting, but there's some interesting stuff going on.
Well, yeah, the offenses that I want to get to the most are the most popular pitchers, and Finkel is Einhorn, and Einhorn is Finkel, and it's just, I mean, I'm just highlighting Atlanta and the Dodgers. I'm actually going to be watching that on top of the college football that's going on today, which should be fun. Also hosting a bunch of Melanie's friends and eating a bunch of sushi, so life will be okay. But watching some college football, watching some baseball for that, but it's a very interesting slate. Feel like I'm going to do a lot of really dumb stuff today.
Cool. And I think you should also fill in to the people. I think you know what I'm about to bring up.
Oh my God.
We're on a meeting before. Explain what happened to your ceiling while we were on the meeting earlier.
Yeah, so we're having construction over at our place. We're putting an addition onto the primary bedroom. It's jutting out here, coming out to, a spot where it's kind of set up or whatever. But there was drilling, a bunch of other stuff. And there's a strip that's kind of like hanging from my AC unit because we had set that all up in here. And it just goes, and it just rips open, has nails, bunch of other stuff. All of the things I had on my walls came crashing down. It was basically like the apocalypse hit my little corridor room. And while we're on the meeting, of course, Eitan Shander, psychopath that he is like, oh, I think Eric's ceiling just fell. Like, identified the problem and exactly what happened in maybe 2.8 seconds. I think that's the creepiest part of the entire story.
And then also his reasoning for being able to identify was like, I've been in that situation. He goes, I know that look. That is the look of somebody whose ceiling just collapsed, which to me was one of the all-time savant moments I've ever seen from somebody who, because all you could see from our perspective while we're on the meeting and we're on camera is just a really loud crash. And then Eric just looking horrified on his face. And then just Eitan right away picking up.
If you're ever in a bind, what I learned on that meeting is if you're ever in a bind where it's like something happens wrong in your life, like, you need some information, you need somebody to help you through some tough times. Eitan Shander is that he's the guy you call and he's like, buddy, I'll come over with some kerosene right now. We're fine. I got you. I
don't think he would come over with kerosene because it cannot be smoked. Like if you're in trouble and you calling Eitan, it's for stress relief and substances. It's not because he's going to assist with he'll make you feel better, but he's not going to help the problem. You'll just forget about it for a little bit. So by the way, something else that happened with me recently with people working on my house, because we're having the floor redone downstairs. So the way they're doing is they take out the old floorboards. I have to put new floorboards in. So there was a point where it was like there were some floorboards in, there were some that was not. One of the guys who was working on floorboards downstairs took a misstep and stepped in between with one of like the missing spots. So he falls. But he doesn't fall straight down because it was like every other thing was in. So he falls and lands like kind of split in between the floorboards and landed on nails. So he got a nail stuck in his ball sack and needed to be rushed to the emergency room.
What?
Yeah.
This is not a joke.
No. This 100% happened. So it was like,
why did you not tell me this story before? This feels like an urgent story that you tell your friends.
Because you were away at the time.
That's not a good excuse.
Yeah.
Did you tell other people this story?
We talked about it in my family a lot, but no, we didn't bring
it up on a show.
But so this guy goes, a couple of his buddies drive him to the hospital right down the street. Then they come back, they continue working. This guy had to have some like emergency procedure done on his testicles. It showed back up, was right back to work in like 2-3 days.
Oh my God. If that happened to me, I don't leave my house for 6 months. I don't go in public. He was working back on the house 3 days later.
Yeah. Right back on the floorboards that ruptured his scrotum.
Oh my dear God. Is this Final Destination? Yeah. Greg is basically, you're the Grim Reaper over there.
But by the way, to add to this, by the way, you asked me why I didn't bring this I didn't even find out about it until a couple of days afterwards. I was just kind of noticing. I was like, because Alvaro's the best worker of the group. I was like, where did Alvaro? Like, where's Alvaro? I haven't seen him for a couple of days. And that was when I was told, oh yeah, Alvaro.
He's got a nail in his nuts.
Yeah, he got a rusty nail stuck in his ball sack, and he has to take a couple of days off work. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can understand that.
I understand why he's not fixing my kitchen right now. Oh man. Greg.
And then he was back.
What a time to be alive. Or, I mean, in that event, I would just be dead.
Yeah.
I'd rather be dead than have a nail in my nuts.
Listen, Alvaro's doing well. He's actually right downstairs now. They're doing some work. So he's nice. Good. Alvaro, he's the best of the group, Alvaro. Pitchers? You want to talk about some pitchers today?
Yeah. I think we can nail on the pitchers.
Yeah, let's nail down some pitchers. Starting with, and we'll go through every single pitcher individually for this slate, and we'll also do DraftKings and FanDuel because there aren't that many players or spots to talk about. So we might as well make sure we hit on everything and leave no stone unturned. Spencer Strider, 12,500 on DraftKings, super expensive in a price tier completely of his own. There's not another pitcher priced even above 9K on the slate. So if you're paying up for pitcher and you're going really expensive, your options are Strider or nobody. Yep. The question is, because if you have the available amount of salary, you're just playing Spencer Strider because of the strikeout upside and how good he is. But Eric, at 55% projected ownership now for Spencer Strider, do you envision yourself being at the field, overweight to the field, or underweight to the field on Strider tonight?
I imagine that I'm going to be underweight when it's all said and done. I have a pretty firm, fast rule when it comes to playing MLB DFS. If there's positive leverage on the Dodgers, I'm going to be overweight on the Dodgers. I think that's just, it's treated me well over the years. It's been basically 7-8 years of them being very, very good and being in these kind of situations. But Spencer Strider, there's no doubt that you could probably get shares on a 3-gamer where you have him in those lineups and have some Dodgers one-offs. I think that that's something that we'll probably be talking about as we go along as well. Who are the players that we might want to play against a pitcher from time to time? But there's no doubt that if you're talking about floor, ceiling, everything from a pitching perspective, if you're not playing an expensive team like the Dodgers or Atlanta, if you're not full 5-man stacking them, it is by almost de facto, I'm just going to be landing into Spencer Strider in those builds.
And then here's just because you brought it up here, and we talk about this on these short 3-4 game slates. How many hitters are you willing to play against your pitchers today? What kind of rules are you setting?
I have a couple where there's one that I'm looking at that has 3, but out of 150, most of them are all 2 or 1.
Okay. So I'm setting a max of 1 for this slate. And there's a couple of reasons for it. Number one is, even though it's a 3-game slate, we do have pretty good pitchers. And then the other thing too that I'm finding, at least looking at our projections, data and whatnot, is the teams going up against the bad pitchers, and I have to rerun my lineups because of just a bunch of lineups came out right before lock that I was not expecting us to get into later. So just rerunning everything for that is I have found, at least in my initial run that I had done, that a lot of the teams that are going up against weaker starting pitching are overowned today. So with that being in mind, I'm not really loading up on some of these offenses against the terrible pitchers. And I don't really want to play multiple hitters against the better pitchers on the slate in a lineup that also has them. So I'll see what ends up happening when I rerun my lineups here and upload it into our Sims tool, but I'm going a max of 1. Do you think that's too restrictive?
I think so. So there's a couple of ways to look at this. So it's not like the Dodgers or Atlanta are cheap. Like that's the one thing. Like the expensive Dodgers you want to get to. Now there are some cheaper Dodgers at the back half of the lineup, and that's where I think I do have those 2 Dodger players that are showing up against Spencer Strider, simply because I find it to be a great ballpark. It's the best ballpark, the best game environment with the heat, everything there in LA. I feel pretty confident in saying that that's the best ballpark, comparing it to Petco and then their Nationals Park. So I think that just from a pure one-off perspective, I like the Atlanta Dodger side of it. But the other thing too is that they're the two pitchers with the best strikeout stuff on this slate, and I want to be able to get to them in lineups, even with a hitter or two on the other side, because I just think they're the two best offenses on the slate as well. So like everything I'm doing is to try to get to more pitching as well as more hitting, especially more hitting. When you're talking about the Dodgers side being as underowned as they are, the Atlanta side coming in with pretty flat leverage, a little bit negative, but not nearly as negative as the Miami side going up against a Don. So for me, it has more to do with like, these are the best pitchers. There's still a floor with their pitching. And I think that that's just landing me on more of those two-player combinations.
One other thing that's going to be important for this slate, want to remind everybody, if you didn't already know, we've had to talk about on some of these slates. Sean Manaea is a pitcher who's expected to pitch for the Giants today. He's projected for some.
You never know.
If you guys are building lineups in Fantasy Cruncher and you want to play any of the relievers for the Giants, here's how you select them. Go into columns and then you click additional options and then select show all pitchers. That is how you're going to get the relief pitchers that are not automatically selected to make sure that they are in your player pool. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that if you are not already knowing how to make sure those guys do make it into some of your lineups. Other part of this, which pitcher are you most likely to play and stack hitters against in the same lineup?
Spencer Strider.
Same. I'm curious if your reasoning is the same as mine.
Yeah, for me, I talked about the Dodgers players. And again, this is me kind of reverse engineering what's happening in Cruncher a little bit. But they're cheaper, and Spencer Strider's floor is so much higher because his strikeout stuff is so much better than everybody else. 38.1% K rate. There are a lot of scenarios where he goes out, he mows down 9 Dodgers, but then you also get 2 or 3 solo home runs. And there's only 3 games to pluck guys between. And so if you start talking about the positionality of it, looking at the outfield, especially with Peralta, with Outman, with Hayward, these are all guys that are cheap. They give you access to good hitting, to a good offense. Spencer Strider's still, going to go out and strike out guys regardless. But like, we've had games on slates with more pitchers where Spencer Strider was crazy owned and, he had one bad outing against Pittsburgh. He had this out. For the most part, you're getting 7 innings and 7.5, 8 strikeouts out of him as like a floor. So like, it's so hard to envision Spencer Strider being a piece that isn't good and not easy to combine with like a Dodgers piece or two.
Here's why I am also most apt to be stacking against Spencer Strider if rostering a hitter. I shouldn't say stacking, rostering a hitter against a pitcher.
Yeah.
When Spencer Strider has given up runs, he struggled with homers at times. So there is a scenario where he goes out, he pitches 7 innings, he gives up 2 runs, he strikeouts 10 hitters, and those 2 runs he allows might be 2 solo homers, right? Like that's general 2 ways that we've seen Spencer Strider starts go a little bit wayward at times this year, the control and the home runs. Now it hasn't happened for a while. Do you know how long it's been since Strider allowed a home run?
I don't think he allowed one in that Pittsburgh outing, did he?
He's not allowed a home run this month.
That's insane.
So I know I'm kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth here. But part of it, too, is he's just been absolutely lights out by and large part this month, other than that start against the Pittsburgh Pirates, which, like I said, he didn't allow a home run. He just got killed by BABIP and walks in that start. Every other outing, though, he's been totally lights out and not hittable this month. The other part of this, though, is that if you go to his starts early in the year where he did struggle, he allowed home runs, often multiple home runs in some of those games. So it's been a while because he's been so dominant by and large part this month. But go back to July. Against the Boston Red Sox, allows 2 home runs. Start further against the Arizona Diamondbacks, allows 2 home runs. Had to start against the Detroit Tigers, we allowed 3 home runs. Start against the Mets, where he allowed 2 home runs. So we actually did have a stretch earlier in the year where I think actually every single start he had in May through the first half of June, he allowed at least 1 home run. So it's been a minute, but we do know that this is a pitcher, and Spencer Strider, as good as he is, can be homer prone at times.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I want to touch on something because I think this is a really fun game theory slate. And I do have some lineups where I'm playing Junis and Manaea together, and I'm just 5-man stack. I'm basically game stacking this game, 2 5K San Francisco pitchers, and then just this game. Jake Swales says this Dodgers Braves game is going to be a pitcher's duel. Even if you think that, again, because I'm inclined to think the same. You see Spencer Strider on one side, Lance Lynn on the other. Who are the best offenses on the slate? Atlanta and the Dodgers. I think that's pretty indisputably correct.
Absolutely.
In the opportunity, like saying that you think it's going to be a pitcher's duel and then building lineups to account for that doesn't get you anything on this slate, because you're talking about the most popular pitcher, Spencer Strider, being 55% owned, being appropriately owned, and then Lance Lynn sitting there at 28, 29, 30% owned. And the only reason he's not being jammed is because you got some kind of salary savings you got to find. And that's where Avila is kind of coming up to the top of the board. But like in MLB DFS, it's not about what you think is going to happen. It's about accounting for what everybody else is too overconfident in having happen. Like, there are a lot of instances where Spencer Strider goes out and mows dudes down. And I know for a fact I'm going to have Spencer Strider in my player pool, but like that doesn't get me anywhere, as opposed to the times where he gets blown up and you have the Dodgers 5-mans and they're the most under-owned that you're ever going to run into them on any 3-game slate from now until the end of time. And it just gets you further. It gets you an opportunity to make more money. So like, I know what you're saying there, where it's just like, I'm on board with you. I think both pitchers are in a great spot. Lance Lynn in a Dodger uniform, he's changed drastically. He has a 167 expected ISO with the Dodgers. He has a 226 expected ISO back when he was pitching there with the White Sox. I mean, that is a drastically different pitcher that we're looking at over the course of his Dodger tenure. But it doesn't change the fact that it's the Atlanta Braves on the other side. So like, you don't want to get too narrow-minded, especially on a 3-game slate, trying to make stands like that.
By the way, shout out in the YouTube chat to Alvaro Construction, who somebody made a burner in the YouTube chat, Alvaro Construction, and he's given us some updates on it.
That's incredible.
So shout out to Alvaro Construction, who says, Mr. Greg, thank you, man. Your homeowner's insurance took care of me. And then he also had another one in here where he had said, Mr. Greg, my balls are okay, but they hurt a little when it gets cold. The good thing, Alvaro, that you don't have to worry about heat wave. So it's like 95 degrees every single day. Now, with that said, sometimes it does get a little bit too hot and Alvaro doesn't show up to work because it's too hot for him, which is a fairly bogus excuse because there's air conditioning downstairs. But either way, Alvaro, happy to hear that your balls are doing well.
It's just so insane you didn't tell me that story sooner. I'm a little disappointed.
Hey, it's recent stuff though.
I know.
It was big important news around my residence. Going back to the pitchers, we talked about the merits of Spencer Strider on the high end. Let's go and look at the next tier of pitchers, where we have two guys in the 8K range that are also on an island by themselves. So you've got 3 tiers of pitchers as far as pricing goes on DraftKings. Strider, then you've got Lance Lynn and Braxton Garrett, who are both about to talk about, and then you got Pedro Avila, you've got Jonah Don, and then you got Sean Manaea, who are on the cheap end, all punt plays. Between Lance Lynn and Braxton Garrett, both of them are fairly popular. Lance Lynn, 29%. Garrett, a little bit more popular, 39% owned, pitching against the Marlins today. Do you have a preference, all things being considered, price, projection, ownership, between Lance Lynn and Braxton Garrett? Who are you more likely to be clicking on tonight?
Lance Lynn, 8,800 going up against Atlanta. I don't think people like clicking on him going up against Atlanta. And also, I feel like just looking at the top stacks tool, can Atlanta negative 2.3% leverage. This is the best game environment. Dodger Stadium against Lance Lynn, who's been awesome. Again, Will Smith is your caddy instead of Yasmani Grandal. Shout out Yasmani with his Dodger tenure, but he's been pretty bad as a defensive catcher and as a hitter in a White Sox uniform. And it's been an upgrade in pretty much every single facet for Lance Lynn here. Better organization to be pitching underneath, even though the White Sox have developed some good starters. They always get plucked away pretty quickly. I feel like this is a spot where people are still going to click on Braxton Garrett. And well, maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to be able to actually react to that news. There's late swap implications with the 2 games being nearly 3 hours apart, that Miami and Washington game. I'll be able to kind of know what that ownership should look like based off of what we get with Garrett. But something tells me that Braxton Garrett going up against Washington without Lane Thomas, this ends up being a spot where people start steaming up Braxton Garrett here pretty darn quickly. And Washington has been pretty darn good against lefties. Again, Lane Thomas out of the lineup, not ideal, but a 108 WRC plus as a team this season. That does take into effect Candelario and Thomas. 104 WRC plus is kind of what I have for the adjusted lineup today. Alu and Jacob Young, don't really know what to do with them. Jacob Young just seems like a nothing on my sheet, even though he's got some speed. But Washington, it's a good spot for Garrett. I expect him to end up more popular, so I'm going to go to the Lynn side.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that either. I know my last run, I did have a little bit more exposure to Lynn. I am at about 8,000 lineups built right now with our latest ownership run. So I just need to build out a couple thousand more, upload them to the Sims tool, and then like 5-6 minutes from now, something along those lines, I should be able to tell you guys what all my exposures do look like precisely. But I do expect I'm going to have more Lance Lynn than Braxton Garrett for a lot of the reasons that you had just laid out. We've got some questions in our Discord channel. If anybody else is watching and are in our Discord channel, one of the perks of being a Stochastic Plus Platinum member, if you guys want to sign up for any package here at stochastic.com, link below is going to get you 50% off the first time you sign up for. And something I really do think you guys might want to consider. I know that Eric before was talking about he is going to be playing college football DFS today. And they're big slates today, 11 games. And we've got a deal going right now, because if you sign up using the promo code BLITZ, which there's a link for that below in the description box as well. But if you sign up for a college football package right now, promo code BLITZ already preloaded into that link below. 50% off your first week using that promo code. There's an 11 game slate today. We've also got a big slate coming up over the weekend. If you guys are playing college football DFS and you are not taking advantage of the endless amount of information that Matt Gajewski has in his brain, I'm not convinced he's a human. I think he's part cyborg and part tuna fish. No human involved in him at all. Matt Gajewski is programmed to watch football and just project the results of it. He's the sharpest guy that I know as far as college football goes. He does all our projections, and you guys should take advantage of this package, because when you sign up right now, you're going to get 50% off, and that's going to be really useful with the first weeks of the season in terms of like significant size slates coming up. So go check that out, guys. Anyway, in our Discord channel, which you get by being signed up at the site, we've got a question here from Captain Kella. Captain Kella wants to know, how do we attack single entry tonight with stacking on DK? If you just have to pick one team to stack in a single entry, where do you think you'd be leaning, Eric?
Oh, God. I know it's disgusting because it's freaking stacking up against Spencer Strider, but I think I'm inclined to go to the Dodgers. You don't ever run into a slate like this with the Dodgers. I know Pedro Avila is pretty popular, so maybe it ends up being San Francisco here. They're actually more positively leveraged than the Dodgers here at the moment. But once again, I will see it when I believe it. Like, if people don't want to stack against Spencer Strider, and these Dodgers, they're just ridiculous offensively. There's also enough scenarios where, Spencer Strider puts up a good game, puts up 20, 22. And if the Dodgers go nuts in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, you're getting all of those points, whereas other people just stayed away from it. It's a 3-game slate. I'm willing to be contrarian. I will be riskier than most. And then probably, as I'm finishing it up here, I'm probably going to roll with the Dodgers. How about you?
I don't hate it. I am most inclined to say, so a couple teams that I'm kind of thinking about. One would be the Dodgers. The other one, though, like you had mentioned also, the Giants going up against Pedro Avila, especially because of the fact that, like, these are the spots that I really like to attack on short 3-game slates. Like, when is there going to be a time where Pedro Avila is 40% owned on a slate? Like, that's something to take advantage of, especially when you consider the way single entry works, where some of the more popular plays end up being, like a little bit more magnified, gets a little bit more boosted up. So I think in single entry fields, Avila could be something like 50% owned, and the Giants as a stack might be like 4 or 5% owned. So if I'm just thinking about what the ownership is going to look like in some of those smaller fields, that's the way I want to go.
Yeah, I like that. I think, Avila, he deserves the ownership that's coming in on him. Like, I do think that. But again, in single entry, I think he ends up being the guy that has to come along for the ride, because pretty much anything else you're doing that isn't just playing Miami and Washington and playing value. Because again, there's one hitter, 5K on the entire slate that's in that Miami-Washington game. You've got, because you had Jazz Chisholm. Yeah, he's the only guy who's 5K. Everybody else is sub 5K. If you're going to play Strider, and we're going to see that be popular, I got to expect this Miami and Washington game is going to have extremely popular bats. I'm going to go the unpredictable route. I think I'll probably get to Lance Lynn Dodgers stack here in single entry.
Okay. And now let's go ahead and look at the other question we have in Discord. And then we also got a super chat from Luke Stone to go and look at. But this one is from Einsteinium. He's saying, with Albies out of the lineup and Lopez is in, does that make you like Lance Lynn more despite his issues here giving up power to lefties? Yeah, I mean, well, Ozzy Albies is a switch hitter also. So I'm just looking at it as he's facing a worse lefty in the lineup.
Correct.
It's for sure. It's for sure an upgrade for Lance Lynn.
Yeah, it's not definitely like it's an upgrade, but like there's still, you're basically taking everybody and you're moving them up a spot in the order. So you're getting other guys up there quicker. And yeah, Nicky Lopez goes to the 9 hole. You're getting Harris, who is not your typical 9 hole hitter. He's batting second today. And they've done this a couple of times, even when Ozzy Albies has been back and just kind of nursing him back. But it's still a very difficult spot. You're basically just taking Harris, and instead of him being in the 9 hole, you're just having him play the Albies role, and it doesn't change a whole heck of a lot for me. It would change it if the player was then inserted into that same lineup spot, the 2 hole. But he's going to get to face Nicky Lopez twice maximum, I would think, unless he just has an unbelievable outing. Then you're going to get a third time through, but. Nicky Lopez not going to change a whole lot for me because Michael Harris is that good in the 2 hole.
And then so I mean, the other thing too is like, so it's a slight upgrade for Lance Lynn, but the other part of this too is it's not like Ozzy Albies being out of the lineup all of a sudden changes the prospects of Lance Lynn to the point where you would get like 10% or 15% more exposure to him.
Exactly.
It's like you get like a couple more lineups here or there. It's not like slate changing information. The biggest impact that Ozzy Albies being out of the lineup had for me is that Ozzy Albies is projected for 20% ownership, and I have to rerun all my lineups because a chunk of lineups end up having Ozzy Albies in them. Mm-hmm. With the super chat that we have, it's funny actually. Now I'm looking, the super chat that we have from Luke Stone is related to this exact same situation because he's saying last man in on DK, Marcelo Ozuna or Michael Harris. Michael Harris for me. I understand Ozuna's just been. Yep. I mean, outrageous. he's been hitting the ball like it's his significant other. Michael Harris, on the other hand, I mean, I know that I don't think he's had domestic violence issues, but he's had a couple of DUIs, and I'm kind of putting 2 and 2 together.
I've made a lot of money on Marcell Ozuna. It's not about the character of the person because he's a piece of shit. I think we can agree on that, but he is hitting baseballs hard and he has made me money.
And Michael Harris, the big thing that relates to it, Einstein, and asked us in the Discord channel, is he had brought up all the struggles that Lance Lynn has had against lefties over the course of his career. It's always been nearly impossible for right-handed hitters to hit Lance Lynn, and lefties have always fared pretty well off him. So just with that in mind, Michael Harris over Marcell Ozuna.
Agreed.
Back to pitching, and now let's talk about the cheapies, Eric. We talked about the 3 expensive pitchers, now the 3 cheap guys. So between Adon, between Manaea, between Avila, what are you doing with the cheap pitchers on DK to save some salary with?
Yeah, so Pedro Avila is the guy that was showing up the most for me. I'm probably going to mitigate it a little bit here. I'm trying to take it down, but we're going to get extra information based on the Braxton Garrett Jonah Adon situation. And I do think Adon ends up being the guy who probably gets slept on here going up against Miami. Miami, a pretty easy team to stack up today in terms of price if you're going to combine him there with Spencer Strider. So I'm just thinking about lineup construction, how other people are going to go out and build lineups. I think Adon ends up being forgotten, and he's 5,400. You don't have to worry about not even entering the game because Sean Manaea, you actually have to factor that into the fact that like he legitimately could just not pitch here in this spot, even if it's just a 10% chance. It just feels a little bit more comfortable for me. So I prefer Avila, but I'm going to be taking more of a stand here on Adon just because if he ends up 10, 15%, there's nothing I can do about it after the fact. I think I'm just going to load up on him a little bit more. And then if I need to land on Avila, I can, and I'll just stack up Atlanta and LA, the Dodgers. I'll just stack that game up a ton. And I know I at least have a contrarian path going that direction, but like locking Avila into like 50% of lineups feels a little bit incorrect today.
By the way, Marcell Ozuna, 2 DUIs and does have a domestic violence arrest as well. So this guy, he's a real jerk, this Marcell Ozuna. And if you remember too, did you see when the video came out when he got arrested for the DUI and he's trying to tell the cop, no, you can't arrest me. You don't understand. I'm Marcell Ozuna from the Braves. And the cop's like, all right, cool. And
jump in the car.
Like he thinks that means he's like getting off.
A loser.
Yeah.
Absolute
Not a
loser.
Fan. Not a fan of the Marcell Ozuna. But anyway, that aside, Michael Harris is a better DFS option today because of the platoon advantage he's going to have against Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn giving up some decent power to righties too, but for all intents and purposes, straight up Michael Harris. Yeah.
All right. Looking over my lineups here now. And if I'm going on the cheap end, I'm actually getting to Adon the most. The main reason is because do you know what the most popular offense is on the entire slate, Eric?
Yeah, Miami.
With that in mind, Miami is crazy overowns. This 26.8% ownership as a team for the Marlins. There's only 2 teams on the slate projected for north of 20% ownership. One of them is the Atlanta Braves. If there's a 3-game slate, the Braves are, one of the most popular teams. You get it. But the Marlins being 26, they're more than 5% more popular than any other team on the slate. Listen, I'm not a massive fan of Adon. I don't think he's particularly great, but neither are the Marlins as an offense. If they're this much more popular than everybody else, it makes sense to take a cheap starting pitcher against them.
100%.
So Joan Adon, that is going to be the cheap pitcher.
Yeah, I have zero. I'm playing 40 lineups. I'm doing 2 iterations of the 20 max. I'm just gonna play 0 5-mans for Miami.
Let's see what I have of Miami. I have some, but I'm underweight to the field on them.
Okay, that's fine. If I were playing more lineups, I'd probably get to some, but as it stands, I am not going to be playing them as anything other than lineup filler.
FanDuel pitching. Let's go and talk about the guys over there. And by the way, over on FanDuel, where Sean Manaea is going to be coming out of the bullpen, there's 0 reason to play him.
0
over there. You don't. Number one, he's risky as is because there was a game where he was expected to be a long reliever like 2 weeks ago.
Yes,
he had some ownership. Never entered the game. So when you're talking about him on FanDuel, he's $7,300, so he's more expensive than Adon and Avila. And then you have 0 chance of getting the quality start bonus if he isn't starting. So Sean Manaea, to me, don't have interest in. On the high end, you got Strider. The price tiers are even more established on FanDuel because Strider's $12,000, Lance Lynn is $9,500, Braxton Garrett is $8,700. I kind of think the way you have to approach the hand on FanDuel is you kind of play pitcher last and you just fit in who it is you could play at the high end. If you have the salary to play Spencer Strider, you're playing him. If you have the salary to play Lance Lynn, you're playing him. If you have the salary to play Braxton Garrett, you are playing him. On the cheap end, where I think we could have a discussion, though, between Avila and Adon on FanDuel, do you have a preference?
Adon. Again, I'm going to just kind of go down with this. I think Miami is the most popular team. You're talking about 6,400, 6,700. It's close. And I liked what I saw from Pedro Avila. Nice changes to his repertoire this season to be relevant in bullpen situations, now lengthening him out. And he's never been good over the course of his big league career. 6.17 expected ERA last year, but just 70 pitches. Again, he basically has not been in the big leagues. You have to go through a lot of his minor league stuff, and it's not pretty, but he pitches in the PCL. So it's just a complete unknown. He's the most stretched out of everybody, which is why he's getting the ownership there compared to like a Manaea or a Junis, where I don't really know what that pitch count can look like for either of them. So just give me Adon as the guy who's the only one who is remotely close in terms of being lengthened out. And then where the most popular offense is on the slate, just give me the opposite of it.
All right. Anything else you want to add to pitching, whether it be DraftKings, FanDuel? If not, we'll build some lines.
DraftKings, Jacob Junis is a guy that I'm playing at 5K simply because Atlanta and the Dodgers, I can get to them. I'm playing him with Adon. I'm not going to be playing him there with Sean Manaea. I don't know what the pitch count could look like for Jacob Junis here because he had 62 pitches on the 15th of August. And then he was forced into duty where he had 1 2/3 innings on the 20th and then only 16 pitches on the 23rd. And then they wanted to utilize him again. But this is the first time he's had a 5-day gap since he went from the 15th to the 20th. Again, 62 pitches to 43 and then 2 mitigated starts. But now he's had 5 days of rest. And so I think the pitch count could be higher than people are looking at. So I'm looking at where he's projected around the industry right now. I think it's lowballed a little bit. And at 5K, I think that if you get the opportunity to not have Manaea go in there, and maybe you do play him combined with Manaea, try to say, hey, maybe I get the win from one of these guys. I don't think Junis can go 5 innings. I think that would be like a 5% outcome. But Obviously you could play 2 5K guys, stack up Atlanta and the Dodgers, and that's really the only path to do it. So on this slate, this specific 3-gamer, it's difficult to talk yourself into it because of Lance Lynn and Spencer Strider and what those K rates are and what they could be in their respective matchups. But at the same time, don't completely hate just taking the 2 best offenses on the slate that nobody else is going to afford and just putting the Giants pitchers together.
All right, let's put some lineups in the lineup generator now. Jordan, if you wouldn't mind throwing this up on the screen. And only 3-game slates. Let's build contrarian lineups. I think that is a good way to go about this. And if you guys are looking to sign up for the lineup generator, use the link below, 50%, which means you get access to this for less than $5. Going to build lineups for you. You could select what you want to do. You want to build balanced lineups, contrarian, chalky for today, 3-game slate, how I'm approaching GPPs. We're building contrarian lineups. So let's save some of these here, and then we'll see what the exposures end up looking like for us. Boy, we've got, even with contrarian lineups, we got to a ton of the Marlins. We got to.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, every lineup. So I can tell you this is not how my lineups are looking for today.
Nope.
We got to all Marlins. All Marlins today. And if you look at exposures, I'm kind of curious to see what we ended up with as far. So we got Lance Lynn at pitcher, which that to me is also a stand that I like making. I think that if you're going to get overweight to a pitcher, the two that I like the 2 pitchers I'm most overweight to today, Lance Lynn, and then also Jonah Don.
Jonah Don. I was going to say, hey, those are mine too as well. And it's not fun.
Yeah. Those are my 2 most rostered pitchers overall are Lance Lynn and Jonah Don across 150 lineup. So I like taking a little bit of a stand here on Lance Lynn. Obviously, if we're getting all these Marlins stacks, there's not going to be any of Jonah Don popping up in these lineups. We got to some of Pedro Avila, but underweight to field on him. I'm also underweight to field on Avila. If we look at the other hitters outside of Miami that we got to, it is some Padres stacks. I'm seeing Xander Bogaerts, Juan Soto. There's Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis. Good shout out there, Jordan. Which stack are you getting to the most of overall today, Eric?
Overall, I am getting to the most. Let me double check because I don't want to say something that isn't true. Because I think it just changed in my last run. Washington is number 1 for me. Number 2 is the Dodgers. I'm just so screwed. I'm very screwed on this slate.
Yeah, so for me, it is San Francisco 1 and the Dodgers 2.
And that's why I was just making sure that it was what I said. I want it to be San Francisco based on our data. I would like that. It seems as though it's not going to happen because I'm changing it where I do think Braxton Garrett ends up a little bit more popular. He's 8,700. I think people see the strikeout matchup. They see no Lane Thomas. And I think the data is going to strongly push people towards Braxton Garrett as an SP2 alongside Strider here as we get closer and closer to it. But maybe I'm completely wrong with that because, we just increased his ownership. He's now 1% away from Avila. Braxton Garrett, 39%. Yeah. That's just landing me on the Lance Lynn side of things. I'm going to be playing a Don. So I'm just kind of doing everything the opposite way of the field. And so as I'm looking at it, San Francisco going up against Avila, it's such an obvious spot where it's like on any other slate, Avila would never be this popular. But 6,300 for him. I get why the ownership's going there. I want it to be San Francisco as we get closer to lock here.
The 2 pitchers that I'm most underweight to on the slate, Braxton Garrett, who is projected for 39% ownership. I have him in 14.7% of lineups. And then Pedro Avila, who's projected for 41% ownership. I have in 22.7% of lineups. So underweight to both of them. If that's the case, also makes sense that I would be stacking against them a little bit. And I also understand that it is going to be a massive pain in the ass because the Giants could be pinch hitting at some point during this game. It's a 3-game slate. So it's kind of hard to not go down the route where so on a big slates, I try to stay away from the Giants if possible. I just can't do it on a 3-game slate.
Nope.
Are you willing to play any of their bench guys as pinch hitters?
So I was literally just going through and adding projections to certain players just because I thought that made something worth a conversation. Luis Matos got sent down to AAA. And so he was so obnoxious because he's just terrible. I don't know what happened between AAA and the bigs, but let's just say things did not go well for him. We also know Jock Peterson could get pinch hit for at any point in time. Austin Slater could come in. But the one nice thing is there's only one lefty, and maybe you're looking at something different. Only one lefty, Josh Hader, in the San Diego bullpen. And that creates a spot where I don't think there's as much pinch hit risk as normal for San Francisco here until you get to a ninth inning situation. And at that point, your stacks have already done what they're going to do. So I think it's a good spot. Yastrzemski, Jock Peterson, Mitch Haniger, these all feel like guys that pretty confidently going to be out there. And then Wade Meckler, there's going to probably be all four of them in this lineup. You'll probably get one of them DHing, not sure which one, but San Francisco, I think less pinch hit risk than normal here.
All right, Jordan, let's do the same exact thing for FanDuel, build out some contrarian lineups. We'll see what pops up over there. And let's also look in the Discord channel because I saw a question that came up. This one was from Einstein. He wants to know no love for the Padres today. I'm not getting to very much of the Padres. I only have...
Hold on 1 second, too. There's Tom Cosgrove that pitched yesterday. And then Ray Kerr, they called up a lefty. He's from AAA. So they did get another lefty in the pen for today. Ray Kerr.
Ray Kerr.
Just Ray
Kerr. By the way, Ray Kerr is a terrible name for a pitcher.
Yeah, that's really awful. His name is literally Ray Kerr. Got called up from AAA because I was just doing the bullpen stuff and copy pasting. And he came up from AAA on Tuesday. Got called in for Wednesday's game.
That's like a third baseman name.
Yeah, that's should be. Yeah. Ray Kerr. Yeah, that'd be great.
Ray Kerr. Anyway, Einstein says no love for the Padres. I'm not getting to very much of San Diego. I only have 5% of them as a stack. Is the Padres a team that you're really gravitating towards? Because
no, and naturally I thought I was going to get to a ton of them, but that didn't happen. I have almost 0 5-mans of them too. I am so heavy on Washington and the Dodgers. I really don't know what to do with my life. It's only a 3-game slate. I understand that I do like to make some stands like this on these shorter slates, but I wouldn't mind getting to some San Diego pieces, specifically Tatis, Soto. But if I'm going to be getting different on this slate, I can get a fraction of the ownership on every single Dodger, on every single Brave even. Like the Braves aren't crazy jammed outside of Michael Harris because of the positionality. Like Acuna is sub 20%. He's going to be sub 20%. Anytime you can get Ronald Acuna there, obviously I'm spending more to get to him than Tatis and Soto, but like that amount of leverage for him and his multi-tool skill set, 30 and 60 guy, 60 stolen bases, 30 homers. Like I'm going to just go to the Acuna side every single time.
All right, let's go and look at what we ended up getting to in these FanDuel lineups. And ton of Strider. He ended up being in 75% of lineups, the most roster pitcher by a mile that we got to on FanDuel. If we look at exposure, still getting to a bunch of Miami, not as much as we were getting to the Padres. So usually my lineups are like pretty in line with the lineup generator. Actually not the case today where I'm underweight to the field on the Marlins. I'm not getting to very much of the Padres. I'm more of the Marlins than I have of the Padres, but still relative to projected ownership. I come in, fairly underweight to a Marlins team that's projected for nearly 30% exposure today. But then I am getting to teams like the Giants. I'm also getting to the Washington Nationals. So those are contrarian stacks that I'm going to be overweight to. If we look at our player exposure, I'm curious behind Spencer Strider, who we get to the second most on FanDuel. Lance Lynn. Those are the only two pitchers we got to, Lance Lynn and Strider.
Low Strider.
Anything else that stands out to you about the FanDuel lineups? As far as the Marlins go, a lot of them, lots of Padres there as well.
They don't look like my lineups. They don't look like mine. I will say, I don't even see any Washington Nationals on that board. So it is what it is. Go Washington today. Just disturbing. I bet them too.
I bet if you scroll down a little bit, Jordan, they'll come up because we had like 30% national stacks, it said. So I'm sure if you go a few players down, Keibert Ruiz, Alex Call, who's that? Jake Alou. Who else from Washington? Yeah. So there are still, like, we did get to Washington. Go back to the stack exposures really quick. That was our third most stacked team. And so Joey Meneses as well. Yeah, we had 35% exposure there to the Nationals. So still a team that we ended up getting to on FanDuel. I do like them for contrarian purposes.
Eric, refresh. What do I need to refresh? Is there something that I missed?
Who's telling you to refresh?
I don't know. Somebody said it there. Refresh, Eric. Tons of nutsack. Tons of nutsack. Tons of my nutsack, Nicholas Robertson says. Interesting. Oh, yeah. Well, we've been talking about nuts and nails. I mean, that should definitely be his biography.
What's the last time you've been hit in the balls? Because it used to be like not like a normal occurrence, but it happened to.
Oh yeah, Duke. Yeah, Duke nails me in the nuts all the time.
Okay,
he loves running right up between your legs. But like
outside of your puppy.
Outside of my puppy, last time, I don't know. I would just make something up at this point. I have no idea. I can't remember. It's been so long that I can't remember.
So for me, because it didn't happen, it's not like it happens every day when you're a kid, but it does happen, from time to time. And some of them are horrific, scaring moments and a scarring moment. So I had one that I was just kind of thinking about. I was in my friend Jordan's front driveway and we're playing catch with a baseball. And we're doing this game where we have to one hop the ball to each other. So, you're throwing the baseball, we're throwing it as hard as we can, like 10 feet in front of each other. And then, it pops up and you're trying to catch it. Yep. So he has one, it takes like a weird hop, bounces, hits me directly in the balls. I go down, hurts horrifically. I bet. But the neighbor's grandma had come over and she is outside on the street in a walker with an oxygen tank. And she laughed so hard that it almost killed her. Me getting hit in the ball. This lady is like nearly incapacitated.
It's great.
And I think this was her final good memory, was me getting hit in the balls with a baseball.
You should have trolled her. Or did you take another, can I take a hit off your oxygen tank, you whale?
It would have helped me. It would have helped me. I could have used it. In that moment, I could have used it. Do you have any of those you remember? Do you have any of those you remember from a kid where you just got destroyed in the nutsack?
No, not really. I mean, I played sports, just get hit in the nuts from time to time, but like, I don't know. I would wear a cup in baseball, basketball. I was pretty good at avoiding getting hit there. Never played football. Yeah, it's just kind of, and then golf. I did get hit. Okay, so this is the one time that I can think of. We were picking up the range at Iowa State. So back when I was playing golf, it was my freshman year, and my roommate at the time, Adam, he was like hitting these wedges and stuff to the middle of the range, and then we would be picking them up and stuff just because it was like really, really rainy. They couldn't take the range picker, so we went and picked up the balls for them. And he hit like a pitching wedge, straight airborne. He like pushed it like directly at me, and I turned and it hit me square in the nuts. So that's the only one that I've been able to think of that's an honest, true thing that happened.
The other thing,
but it didn't even hurt that bad. It was just like the placement of it. It got close.
Also, for whatever reason, my group of friends in college, my freshman year, we used to do the nut tap game all the time, where you sneak up behind each other and just slap each other in the balls.
Yeah, because you guys are fucking idiots.
Yeah,
that's great.
I don't. That was. I mean, we thought it was the funniest thing back then. Look back, boy, that was not very. We were just hitting each other in the balls all the time.
What if one of you can't have kids now?
Listen, there's a lot of different ways to get a vasectomy done. If mine was being drunk my freshman year of college, so be it. So be it.
It's fair.
Imagine explaining that to somebody, though. You get married one day, it's like, listen, I can't have kids. Why can't you have kids? So freshman year, my friends and I, we used to get really drunk and we would just slap each other in the balls, and it doesn't work anymore.
We got the Giants lineup finally. It's good.
Oh, boy. All right, let's see. What is this line?
Got it right. Wade, Strada, Haneker, Peterson, Yastrzemski, Davis, Meckler, Saville, Schmidt. So, yeah, we got the four I expected. This is literally the exact lineup that I had.
Let's see. Anything weird in here? I guess
no Patrick Bailey. Afterwards. That's the only thing. Patrick Bailey, different catcher. Saville.
Yeah, Saville in the lineup. Also, Casey Schmidt is in the lineup. So who's out?
Well, I expected that.
All right, let's see. We don't have in the lineup. Really? Yeah, no. So Tyro Estrada's in the lineup.
Yep. Estrada, Davis. It's literally the exact lineup that I had in, except for Saville catching instead of Paul
DeYoung
Bailey
starts every day at shortstop for them now. So I had Paul DeYoung in the lineup.
Oh, he's terrible. He's awful.
He is terrible, but he has started at shortstop for them in all but one game over the course of the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, he hasn't had a hit in how many straight games now? I saw some number because he got pinch hit for yesterday. I saw the number come across on TV. I can't remember what it was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games he's gone hitless.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's any good, but I thought he was going to start.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and look. Oh, we got a super chat here. Olrat 14. Oh, Olrat. Usually
what's
more
up, dude?
Usually more in the basketball streets. So we got basketball starting up and not all that long. We've got about 2 months to go until basketball season. Looking forward to that. But Olrat 14, he wants to know Avila, Adon, Junis, or Manaya in his perfect single entry DK. He's looking for the perfect lineup.
Oh, most
exposure. So it's going to depend, Olrat, on what hitters you have. But the pitcher I have the most exposure to, those guys you just mentioned, are Adon for ownership reasons. But like if you're playing Marlins hitters, you don't want it to be Joan Adon. But like not knowing any other information, I'm going to say Adon.
Not knowing any other information, I'll say Adon as well. And best of luck to us all. We're so fucked.
Yeah. Adon 1, if you're playing Marlins in your lineup, then Avila.
Every time I look at my lineups, I'm like, am I really doing this? Because like I have no Miami 5-mans. This is going to go very, very poorly.
I don't have none of them, but I am underweight. The
word is 0 for me.
It's hard on a 3-game slate. If you're playing 150 lineups, it's hard to have 0% exposure to any individual team.
It is, but like I'm somehow doing it because I refuse to play Miami at like 30-40% owned. Just no, thank you.
We go back into.
Also, why would you play an offense this popular this early on a 3-game slate where legitimately you're going to be able to make complete known? You can't do anything about not having exposure to them now, but like we're going to see exactly how popular they are. And we're going to be able to late swap into something contrarian very, very easily with upside. Like Atlanta and the Dodgers are going to be under-owned relative to any other 3-game slate for the rest of eternity. And the only reason that people are playing them or aren't playing them is because they're facing phenomenal pitchers. But like, that's a terrible reason to not get to the best offenses on a slate. And we'll know exactly how popular. Maybe we're wrong about it. And then we'll be able to make adjustments if Miami goes completely nuts and nukes the slate. But like, if they don't, we can play whatever we want in the evening and we're going to be set. So like, give me the late swap ability more than anything for fading Miami.
What are you eating there, Jordan?
What are you eating?
Yeah, he took the biggest bite out of something. Chicken panini.
Also, 6 minutes until college football locks, everybody.
6 minutes. Do you got your lineup set?
Yeah, I'm all set. I got him in. Let's go.
Right, so talk
John Reese Plumlee. Let's go. He's also the top bet on OddsShopper, over 1.5 touchdown passes. That's cool.
Good to know. Told you guys earlier, get 50% off if you sign up using the link we have below for our college football package. What I haven't told you guys yet, although I know a lot of you guys have been watching the shows lately, so you're probably hip to this. The deal that we have with Caesars, sponsoring the show today. If you guys have not checked out Caesars, really easy way to put some money in your pocket. Get some free bets ahead of the football season because you sign up at Caesars using the link we have below. You're not going to get 1. You're not going to get 2, not 3, not 4. You can get 5 free $50 bonus bets from Caesars when you sign up now and place a $50 bet. Sign up at Caesars, use that link, make a deposit. Like I said, bet $50 on something you want. Like, I don't know. Like, is there a college football game you guys like? Is there a baseball bet that you really like for today? Whatever it is, throw $50 on it because you can get $250 back in bonus bets. $50 bonus bets paid out weekly leading up to and then through the start of the football season. So that's going to be 250 free bets you can have in your pocket. If you or anybody you know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. If you have a testicle problem or you got hit in the balls recently, that's not the number you call. 911 for that kind of scenario. Oh. Eric, let's talk about stacks. And it's something that you and I we've kind of gone over all of our stances largely on stacks throughout the show. But, you know, maybe somebody who was watching just towards the tail end didn't catch the beginning. What is the team that you overall have the most exposure to tonight?
The Washington Nationals.
All right. Washington Nationals for yourself. And Why is it they're getting into as much of the Washington Nationals as you are?
So if I want to have any Spencer Strider in my life with how much Dodgers I'm getting to, the only path that I'm finding that, or even just playing Lance Lynn alongside some of these Dodgers bats, is by getting to one of these teams, one of these cheapies. And it seems like I'm just landing on them. I wanted it to be San Francisco. I'm just updating everything here now. We've got what? Still have 7 minutes or something. Yeah, we've got 9 minutes, and college football's in the rear view. But like, pretty positive that we're going to end up seeing ownership come up a little bit on San Francisco now that their lineup's out, and it's out before this first game started. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty positive Washington going up against Braxton Garrett. As Garrett's ownership has come up, you assume that Washington's ownership is going to be coming down, and I'm looking at it here now. We have a little bit of positive leverage coming in on Washington, and this is more of like, I think one of the other things that with my lineups, I have like virtually zero Braxton Garrett, 12%. And naturally, I'm going to cheer against his success. Easiest way to do that is being overinvested in the Washington Pats.
So for me, it is the San Francisco Giants. And this is just primarily because you have a pitcher who's not terrible in Pedro Avila, but he's not a pitcher that ever warrants being north of 40% on. The biggest risk we're running into with the San Francisco Giants today is what kind of bullshit are they going to pull with the pinch hitters throughout the game? It's a risk. I understand that it's something that we're going to have to deal with, but it's a 3-game slate. Whenever you have a pitcher that's not all that great, that's picking up this much ownership, those are the spots I almost always love to attack on these short slates. So it is the Giants is my most roster team. Second most roster team is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hate the matchup against Spencer Strider, but it's the Dodgers. They're one of the best offense in baseball. They also have relatively low ownership considering the slate. Strider himself is going to be super popular. So Giants, my number 1 stack. Dodgers coming in number 2 for me.
Love it. Love it.
Any other teams that you're making any kind of heavy stance on for your stack exposures?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit over on Atlanta as well. We've got them with a 22.8% top stack percentage. Again, it's pretty wild to see them with the highest top stack percentage on this slate against Lance Lynn, and then, relatively zero value. The reason that it's so difficult to get to them, 21.7% ownership share, and why there's negative leverage, well, you got to get to Spencer Strider too. I think that that's just somebody that I'm not willing to fade on this slate. That would be kind of silly. If you're making one lineup, go ahead and fade him. Do whatever you want. It's one lineup, but I'm pretty positive that that Spencer Strider's upside is something that would be a little bit foolish to be full fading here. But the combination of him and Atlanta bats to get to are pretty difficult. If you want to be doing that, it's going to be more of like a 3-man capacity. You're not really finding, even by going to Jonah Don, like I'm looking at here in some of these lineups, it's just really hard to make 5-man Atlanta's work with Spencer Strider. So I think that that's probably why I'm not getting to them even more. And then San Francisco, I like getting to. I'm going to try to turn, we got 5 minutes still, turn some of these Washington bats into some of these more known San Francisco entities now. San Diego fading, Miami fading. Those are my 2 really big ones though.
And as far as my pitcher exposures, now that I got my lineups all set and loaded,
Good
ready to go. My number 1 most roster pitcher is Jonah Don. Number 2 for me is Lance Lynn. 3 is Spencer Strider. So those are my 3 most roster pitchers. And in terms of stacks, once again, number 1 for me is the Giants. Number 2 is the Dodgers. I'm also playing the Giants in single entry tonight. Let me double check YouTube and make sure we don't have any existing super chats that we haven't answered. I think the answer is no. Yeah, we got to all of those. Eric, do you have any bets do you want to give out to the people before we log off here? And then we'll also do our dong picks of the night.
Yeah, it's super light night for me and everybody in Premium Discord. I have a small play on the over of 8.5 there. It's now juiced minus 120. It was minus 110 yesterday or last night, excuse me. So it's not as appealing to try to force that in for the Washington-Miami game, but I am on the Washington side of things, getting plus money there. Even with Jonah Don, I know it feels disgusting, but just sitting right around plus 130, plus 132, depending on where you're looking right now. That was a side that I was pretty okay being on. And then just played some home run plays, Atlanta and the Dodgers. I think Eddie Rosario plus 600, really good number to be getting on him there going up against Lance Lynn. And then Marcell Ozuna talked about him as well. Oh, and Max Muncy's plus 420. I know Spencer Strider's incredible, but I never see Max Muncy plus 420 anywhere. That's over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Huge difference in odds between DK and FanDuel here. And yeah, you should be betting it on FanDuel.
There's a lot of pressure. I have hit on my home run pick on this show every day for a week, Eric.
Oh, well, I'm back, so I'm going to screw with you.
I had Brian Reynolds yesterday. I had Mitch Garver the day before. So I've got to get this right. I have to.
Do it. For the socials. For the socials.
How risky do I want to get? Do I want to optimize my odds of keeping it going, or how should I play this?
I think you got to pick something north of plus 300.
Oh, well, that's easy. All the guys I'm thinking of are going to be over that.
Okay, just making sure you're not taking like Matt Olson or, trying to hit on a freebie or something.
Well, I went with Brian Reynolds yesterday.
I love that call. I played him in single entry yesterday.
Today, lots of pressure. All right, so if my most rostered stack is the San Francisco Giants, I'm a bit of a coward if I don't take a Giant here.
I guess so. So the what am I trying to say? The Alvaro Dong pick of the day. Just blood in the streets.
All right. I know who it's going to be.
Do it.
Yaz. Mike Yastrzemski. I think that's where I'm leaning.
Mike Yastrzemski. Interesting one. Interesting.
What I want to do.
He should have more home runs than he's had so far this season. 18.2 degree average launch angle, 47% hard hit percentage. He was hurt, dinged up. That's part of why the total's down, I suppose. But he should be seeing some positive regression, considering a lot of his expected home run numbers pretty similar to Jock Peterson. And that's a good thing because Jock doesn't have as many this season either. Lower launch angle for him.
All right, there it is. Mike Yastrzemski. They were going once. I've been going with the obscure picks. I've been trying to do it, guys who are lower owned, but I always try to make it somebody who overweights the field on. And I have
Max Muncy for me against Strider. You're one off. Enjoy that one.
I have 19.6% exposure to Mike Yastrzemski today. That's the home run pick, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you've not done yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our podcast channel, Stochastic Daily Fantasy, over there on the podcast. So if you want to listen to any of our strategy shows on the go, and like I said, you really want to be there for football season, go check that out. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great night. We're back here tomorrow to break down a little bit of a better baseball slate.
Go check out Neil's Marathon Best Ball stream.
What's that?
I had to say it for you.